to be a very informative process. So excited to welcome Dr. Nashlie Sephus, based from Jackson, Mississippi, based in Atlanta, doing incredible work with the Bean Path, also working at Amazon. There are several, I actually came across your story with originally the Forbes Inc. Article, and then just it was such a pleasure to just kind of dive deep into that and to see how much you've been working on prior to that, which I think is very, very important, right? Just the work that you do, the groundwork you do before you get the attention and stuff like that. So maybe if we have people from all over, we have, from different backgrounds, immigrants, students. Sherry Richardson, good evening. She just tapped in on the call. Great to have you as well. So I think for us, maybe it would be great to hear you introduce yourself with what you're doing right now, because I really want to have a current conversation where we can get to know what you're doing right now. I really want to see how we can help you right now. And it's just so important, just your background. Obviously, we could go into that as well, but maybe, I want to give you the stage. Have you go ahead.
Oh, sure. So yeah, thank you all for inviting me. I'm excited about reaching out to people, especially doing great work themselves. And I thank you all. I've been following some of your posts and things, and I think it's really cool what you have going. And this is definitely needed. It's definitely work that has to be done. Somebody has to do it. So glad to see you're doing it. I am a machine learning tech evangelist at Amazon. I was an applied scientist there for 4.5 years, and almost hitting 5 years this October. And I work with artificial intelligence, AWS artificial intelligence team. And I have a specialty in fairness and mitigating biases in AI technologies. And so that's like in face rec technologies, speech technologies, or we call it natural language processing technologies, NLP, and et cetera. And so outside, that's my day job, but outside of that, I have I guess you call it my labor of love, which is the Bean Path. I created that nonprofit back in 2018. And our whole purpose was just to do, free tech help and expose the community to technology, whereas they normally wouldn't have access to a tech expert or someone in that industry. And so we started doing these help sessions at the local libraries, and we would get some younger people come in, then we get some older people, then we started getting students, and before we knew it, it was a thing. Like we said, oh, wow, these people in the community really need somebody they can talk to about technical needs, whether it's something simple like, hey, my phone, I need some help with my phone, or something more advanced, like I got this idea for a tech startup and I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. We do a lot of mentoring. We help small businesses and startups. For example, we have a program called CTO to Go. So if you're like a non-technical founder, you have no clue where to start with hiring a tech team, getting a CTO. What does a technical roadmap mean? What type of software architectures are you using? We try to meet people where they are, and just help them understand how far they can go. Bean is actually a computer programming term, but most people know of a bean as a seed that grows into something bigger. And so we wanted to help plant these seeds of tech expertise and guidance so that people can grow into whatever it is that they're wanted to do. And that grew so much that even after the pandemic, we were helping people all over the country. People were calling in, asking for help. And we were doing a lot of things actually like this. We do our feature presentations every month or so. And we said, wow, we gotta grow. We gotta do something bigger and expand what we're doing. And so that's when I went to Jackson back home, and I decided to purchase land. Ended up being at the end of it 14 acres of land in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. And we have 8 buildings. We're gonna also build 5 new construction buildings alongside of that. And it's gonna be a live, work, play, tech, and innovation center. tech hub. And so, of course, Mississippi isn't known for this sort of thing. And so we got our work cut out for us, but we definitely know it's a need there. And we can also expand what we're doing with the Bean Path and bring other partners and collaborators to the table to help out. And so that's me, kind of in a quick nutshell. Like I said, uh, I do several things to, just a big advocate for tech exposure and access for everybody. And so I think, it's great what you all are doing as well, informing people, educating. That's half the battle, people just understanding what's out there, how it can help them, and how they can get started. So very happy to be here today.
Oh, and we're all very, very, very happy to welcome you. There's so many things to talk about. I think one of the things that I thought was extremely interesting is that you work full time at Amazon, still actively do, and you were able to start this. I no problem. We have a little. I'm just gonna mute you right there, and so you were able to essentially start this nonprofit. Um, and I love everything about the live, the education, the live space. But I think a lot of, we call them entrepreneurs, right? Who, you have a full-time job and you have an idea and you want to get involved. I think a lot of people are maybe held back in getting started in that. Maybe can you talk a little bit about, what was that like in doing it, getting started, and then ultimately now getting support from Amazon and having them, really helping you in that process.
Yeah, so I really honestly I didn't think I would still be working at Amazon at this point. Um I left out a little part of the story which is relevant to this question. I actually came into Amazon as I had a startup company that I was the chief technology officer for, also a stakeholder, and we actually sold our tech company to Amazon in 2016. And so I came into Amazon. That obviously gave me a lot of capital. It's in the millions. We're not allowed to say how much, but it was enough for me to do the things that I'm doing now. And I wanted to make sure that, I'm a simple person. I grew up very humble beginnings. I don't need a lot. So I said, wow, how can I really make, an impact on my community and other communities and leave a legacy? And so I always knew I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what it was going to be. So after we were acquired by Amazon, and the name of the startup was called Partpic, Partpic, and it was actually a CEO was a Black female. Her name is Jewel Burks,
Oh,
Jewel Burks
I
Solomon.
didn't know
Yeah,
you were. I know. I'm okay. I didn't know that. I'm familiar with.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She's yeah. We were definitely go getters and made it happen, and it was very unique in that we were the first Black female led tech startup that ever was acquired by Amazon at that point. And so we started the company back in 2013, and I was helping to build the first prototype actually. And I was like finishing up grad school. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, yeah, I can help you build that. My expertise is artificial intelligence. We were taking pictures of we wrote algorithms that would recognize what the part was in the picture. And so if it was a screw, a nut, a bolt, or a washer, we would say, oh, this is our algorithm could say this is a hex bolt, it's 2 inches long, it's a half an inch base diameter, 3 per inch 15. And I was able to build that first prototype and recognize like all these parts, like about 100 parts or so. And so she had that idea. She needed someone to help her build it. We were able to build the prototype, and then I just kind of went on. I ended up saying, okay, well, just keep me posted on how things go. And about a year later, she gives me a call. But we were kept in touch, and she said I was able to take that prototype, and I raised $1.5 million, and I need you to be my CTO. And so I was working. I was a poor grad student, so when I graduated, I needed to find a job quick. So I ended up getting a job in New York City. And if I'm a Southern girl, and I know some y'all might be used to the snow in the Midwest, but I was not. I was not used to that. And so I was kind of glad to get that call, so I could come back to the South. And I became the CTO full time. And so we grew that company to about 10 people over 2 years or so. And Amazon came knocking. And so we ended up, selling the company. And so coming into Amazon, I had already had that startup experience. Like I already had like I knew very little about entrepreneurship and startup getting into that, but I learned a lot by doing. And I think that experience was priceless. I was managing a whole team of engineers and scientists, hiring them, coming up with budgets, making sure we can meet payroll and meet deadlines and organize and just do whatever we needed, kind of quarterbacking the whole tech side of that company. And so coming into Amazon, especially having been acquired, I was like, okay, what's next? So I started the Bean Path in 2018. Really, I just used my own capital to start that company. And I knew that if we just show and prove that this is something that's needed, the money will come. And that's exactly what happened. And then I just kind of stayed with it. And then, of course, when I came to purchase the buildings, I knew it was like, it's time for me to leave Amazon now. This is it. And but I was telling my managers like, no, wait, what do you mean you're leaving? No, you can't. And so I was like, well, I'm trying to do this thing. It's like, well, how about we do this? So they ended up, changing a lot of things for me. At that point, that was at the point I was about my 3 years into Amazon, 3 or 4 years. And, they just made it really easy for me to stay. That's in a nutshell. And so I was like, okay, great. And they were actually helping me and supporting me in what I was doing and saw the value. I think a lot of what happened last year too with, George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, and of course the pandemic, because now people could work remotely. It really was like almost like the perfect storm, in that, everything literally just worked out. I didn't have to travel as much from Atlanta to the West Coast. I was able to kind of sit and focus and gather my thoughts and pull together a team to help me build that in from Atlanta to Mississippi, and also hire more people. So it was really just put my own capital in, let's show and prove, and then the money will come. That was always my thing. And so I try to set aside a little time every day, have certain meetings during certain times. I had a virtual assistant I brought on, especially after that Inc. magazine article. We had so many people reach out, and we had some great press, great people, all kinds of people, celebrities, athletes, people that say, hey, I have ties to Mississippi. I want to help. I want to contribute in some way. And it was very, very beneficial to me. And as I'm learning, so not only do I have now the startup experience, the corporate America experience, the nonprofit experience, I'm also a real estate developer to that list too. And not really that was something I set out to do, but it's what needs to be done in order for this other thing to happen. So
yes. So I love that. So sidebar, I was actually at Afrotech in 2018 or 2017. And I heard Joe Burks told that story of Part Pick, but there was just so much going on in Afrotech, and I went to like Belgrade next month. So that's just so you like put everything together.
Nice.
And I think it's so interesting. So talk about that, because in I think around America, right? I mean, most of America was kind of built with
in Pennsylvania. So let's zoom in closer to home, just the garden variety showers that you're seeing. And we're starting to see them push a little farther south into Franklin County. So it's no surprise that shot that we saw.
Yeah, man, I think it's coming from me.
All right. There we go. Let's go ahead. All right. That's the one. Okay. And if anyone has any questions, please raise your hand. Welcome, Elio, and a lot of other community builders. Thank you for hopping on the call. But I love what you're doing, because you're doing it in inner city, right? Neglected. You grew up there, so you understand the community. You know the community you're investing. And I think there are pockets of, I see pockets of this happening in a lot of Midwestern cities. Are you thinking about maybe kind of branching out this model? Obviously, you got to start building and get the building up and everything up and running, but is that kind of where you're already thinking of as far as branching out? Because I think that's one thing that I love about what Atlanta, like the gathering spot, for example, and different things like that. So, is that kind of how you're thinking about it, or is it going to be an online curriculum maybe as well? Because I noticed a lot of the programs are, focused on Jackson, which I think is great. But thinking about kind of like the future of this programming?
Yeah, so I think I will say that being in Atlanta has been very empowering for me, especially having come from Jackson, Mississippi, which there's just not a lot of things like this going on there. And so when I went to Georgia Tech and for grad school, I've seen Atlanta grow, and a lot of people of color, just do some amazing things that I was just not used to seeing that, where I was from. We had great people. We had a lot of business owners, things like, barbershops and food places, soul food, yeah, we do that, we do that in an amazing way. Um, I just wasn't seeing like startup companies. I wasn't seeing tech startups and people of color doing that. And so that was really helpful to see a lot of that going on in Atlanta, especially during that time. And I was like, wow, it was just so empowering. I was like, I could do this back at home, and so or we need this. This is what we need. I've seen the whole tech ecosystem grow up in Atlanta and evolve around me, and the benefits that it has on those people in those communities. And it's still growing, in Atlanta and other places around the Southeast. And I just want to make sure that my hometown was a part of that conversation. And so for me, it is, and actually, by the way, I did co-found a space in Atlanta called Kit Labs. And I could put that in here too. But it is a space to create a community for Black STEM professionals. A lot of us went to Georgia Tech. We graduated from Georgia Tech, and we just wanted a place where we could still go and have access to like all the great conversations and mixers and resources that we had at Georgia Tech, so we can continue our innovative, thinking and process and develop the tech talent, which is a very, important part of that whole tech ecosystem. And so I think having seen that and having done that in Atlanta on a smaller scale, it really helped me think about, okay, what's the future for the Jackson Tech District and the Bean Path. And so, of course, with the pandemic, we've had to go virtual on a lot of things. I would say that was a plus and a minus, because one, we were able to scale and we actually ended up impacting more than just Mississippi over that time period last year and up to this year. We were able to impact people would call in from anywhere across the country. New York, Midwest, West Coast, Florida, those areas. And so it was really good in that. However, it's still the people that are not going to get on a video call were still left out, which those were the people that we really wanted to help. Yeah. And so we're really anxious to get started. We're actually opening our first building this fall. We just got our building permit for the Bean Path. We got $300,000 from the Kellogg Foundation. We're getting more funding coming in from the city and other sponsors, including Amazon, Acer, Airbnb, and many more to come. And so I think with that expansion, with having a building and still not losing that in-person presence for those people who really need that, it's really it's baked into what we do. We want to make sure we scale in the right way, and not too fast, but now that we have some additional funding, we can impact more people. For example, our program that we partner with Apple to teach and train kids how to code and do app development. We have about 60 kids between Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and Tennessee that are, and these are most of them are people from underprivileged communities, kids from underprivileged communities who have not had access to this type of training and learning. And we're able to, and they're consistent. Like we've been doing this program for about 5 months, and they're consistent. They're coming back every week. They just started school, so we had a break. We're kicking it back up next week. And so this is the type of change and impact and influence. And I know that having worked at Amazon, one thing we do is scale. Like we scale, that's what we do. If we don't do anything else, scale and go to the moon, apparently. But we want to make sure that we're scaling, and I'm learning a lot from that experience in my nonprofit.
I love it. I love it. I know a book is to come. as well. And anyone could donate to the Bean Path anonymously. You could also link your Kroger card to it as well. So when you're shopping at Kroger, donate that way. So I think that's incredible. And you might have touched on this, but do you have? I know you mentioned Jackson kind of first, and obviously roots in Atlanta. Is there anything going on in the Midwest, or more specifically Ohio, that you have roots in, or any?
Yeah, so I haven't, as far as Bean Path or Jackson Tech District, no. However, we have some connections. I remember going to Columbus. I mean, I think, so I'm a member of the National Society of Black Engineers as well. So we worked with some groups there. And then as far on the Amazon side, really, I mean, being at a company like Amazon, I have to take advantage of that, right? And so there's so many resources that we can do. We're planning a lot of events coming up. So I switched from, as I mentioned, I switched from the scientist role to the machine learning tech evangelist role around spring of this year. And so what that allows me to do is to set up a lot of, educational events, seminars, virtual and in person, in places. So the word evangelism means to go where no one's gone before, and kind of preach this gospel of AI and fairness, and how people can use these resources to help them in their everyday lives, or help them build their companies and startups. And I definitely want to come. I definitely want to come to the Ohio area, Midwest, definitely the Southeast, these places that are often forgotten and not sought after. And so I hope there'll be a lot more programming to come with that program, as well as some of the other things that we're doing.
Well, I see that in the near future, definitely. And Mary, I see you have a question. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, if you might. I'm curious as to how you're managing with rural areas that, at least in Ohio, and I imagine other places in the country, don't have access to broadband. So how are you addressing that?
Yeah, so that's a good thing. So good thing to ask there. We've seen a lot of the impact on especially kids that are in these rural areas that don't, when we went virtual, who didn't have access. Now, as far as, again, what BeamPath is doing, we haven't been able to directly solve that problem, but we have partnered with, so for example, there's this company, one of the largest IT companies in Mississippi. They ended up setting up these Wi-Fi, parking lots where people could come and get their homework. Students could come and get help, tutorials, get tutors to help them with their homework and things like that with the internet. I know that, for example, the school district where we are in Jackson, Mississippi, the public school system, what they're considering a proposal right now is to set up these a citywide intranet for all the students and parents who are a part of that public school system to be able to log in and have internet for free with their devices and their laptops that are distributed from the school system. And so if the internet is not there, if it's not present, one thing we also can do is to help be a part of the legislation that is passed to make sure that these things are put in place. I know one thing that I've learned with being on the fairness and bias team, AI fairness team at Amazon. So for example, I would go to Capitol Hill often before the pandemic, speaking to different organizations, NAACP, ACLU, members of Congress and House committees and things like that, and to understand, what their concerns were, how we could help as a large company, what responsibilities we have to help. And I think that that conversation can continue. And I'm happy to, continue to be a part of that conversation to make sure that you can't forget the other stakeholders. There's the technologists, but there's also the government, the legislators, public policy. Everybody has to be working together along with the big companies in order for us to get these things accomplished. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And if anyone else has a question, feel free to raise your hand. There's a few ecosystem builders in here as well. So, with Collaborate and Elevate, our goal really is to highlight, entrepreneurs, professionals doing amazing things. I think we kind of noticed that it's hard, right, to get your idea out, let alone gain customers, investors. So, COVID really accelerated what we were doing. We actually didn't even have a membership, or we only did events here in Columbus. And then obviously had to stop that. So we rolled out the membership, and right now we're pretty much right at about 148 or so members right now around the world. And, incredible stories like with Paulo, for example, based in the Philippines, and he has a whole outsourcing business with 60 employees. We're now connecting him with customers in America and the States, which has a very nice turnover rate, right? Or crossover, right? Or conversion rate too. So, that's kind of like in a nutshell what we're doing. So, on the back end though, we're forming partnerships with, what we call ecosystem builders, really kind of like yourself. So, what type of, and so I just wanted to say all that to open it up to see, what kind of needs, or how could the community help you? Because there are a few people on the call here from a few different backgrounds.
Got you. Yeah, that's great. I'm sure, I know that definitely sure there's a lot of powerful people right here on the Zoom call doing some amazing things. I think as far as support, there's a lot of lessons learned, amongst the group. There's a lot of wisdom, and I think that anything that I could do to help with that knowledge transfer, I would love to understand what were the challenges, what were some of the things that you were able to be really successful in, and what were the key factors that played a part in that, even if it's as simple as I had all my meetings in the morning so that I can work in the afternoon, or I kept Fridays off so I can have a self-care day. These are very important. As my grandmother would say, the devil is in the details. And so knowing how things were accomplished, and knowing those lessons learned, I think that would be very helpful in some way to facilitate that.
I like that. So if anyone has anything they're going through and wants some advice, right now is the time to open it up. I think I could just talk about, I guess, with Collaborate and Elevate, but you really kind of touch base on it. I think it's really mind, body, soul, and taking the time. I think that's what COVID did, was allowed, I would say, me and our team just to focus on what's important, and really kind of slow down. And I think that has allowed us to grow and really just have even more important priorities, per se. So, but yeah, I think it's just that I think utilizing resources that are around you. I think and you only have 24 hours in a day at the end of the day. So yeah. How big is your team right now? How are you able to do all what you're doing right now?
It continues to grow. Even as we speak, we're trying to sort through a few more interns and people to help. And so it's pretty interesting. And when I tell people this, they're like, how are you doing this? And so of course I have the Beam Path team, which we've been, our 3-year anniversary is this October. We're actually doing a big thing in October 15 and 16. If you happen to find yourself in that area, we'd love to have you out. We have about 10, we have about 6 or 7 contractor employees, which now that we have funding and larger grants coming in, we're getting ready to hire our first full-time person, actually. So we've been 3 years just part-time folks, who have other jobs, but they're willing to help either in a volunteer capacity or a very reduced rate. And we also have a whole host of volunteers, about 100 or so, that at any given time we could call on and say, hey, can you help with these tech office hours? Can you sit in with these people one-on-one? These are tech experts in the field. And so, we've been, relying heavily on people. That's what makes this work. It's not me. It's just, I have a vision and I'm able to, convey that, and they're able to execute it. And so on the tech district side, there's the real estate development. Of course, there's, how do you make sure you get your permits, working with the architects, working with, I have a development team that actually I pretty much communicate with them and they communicate with everyone else, like the general contractors, the city, the zoning and all that. And then there's the programming side of it all, which is, okay, what do we want to make this whole space? What's the vibe going to be? Restaurants, what kind of restaurants do we want? What are these financial projections going to look like? On a Saturday night, what kind of events are we going to have for people in the community? Are we going to allow people to come and do this type of thing versus that type of thing? So it's like coming up with all that idea behind it and planning. And of course, it may change, but there's a whole team dedicated to helping me with that as well. So I think development team is about 3 folks on that side that work with a lot of other people. And then there's 2 or 3 people on the programming side that help me with like events and programming and partnerships. So yeah, definitely a big, I would say maybe about 20 people all in all. So yeah.
No, I love that. And I love how, you kind of mentioned you had the idea and it takes time. It took 3 years to kind of get to where it's at. And now you're able to make your first time hire. And I think a lot of, entrepreneurs, they want things obviously to happen fast.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to deflect the shiny object syndrome
Yep.
as well too. So I guess, you mentioned you had celebrities and all these people reach out to you after this article. How do you deflect the shiny object syndrome and stay focused on
Yeah.
and start yeah.
So it's kind of like buying a house. When I bought my first home, it was like a fixer-upper house, right? So I had this long list of everything I wanted to do to it. Probably like at least I probably only did a third of the things on that list, and probably wasn't even thinking about the rest of it for the rest of the time I was there. And so that's just how it is. You come in with these big dreams and vision. Not to say that you can't reach that, but you got to start somewhere. And usually, starting means focusing on something. Even with Park Pick, the startup company, we wanted to help people find missing parts. And so if that was, your dog ate one of the screws or you dropped one down the drain, or, you had a broken part, you could take a picture of the other one and we would find that part for you, take you exactly to the website where you can buy that and have it shipped to you or go into the store and pick it up. And so we had people come along and say, okay, can you do these car parts? Can you do these airport parts? Can you do these electrical components and parts? And so we often tried to, diversify, make sure we were a broad enough company, but still there was one central, set of type of parts that we wanted to stick to. And, it got kind of crazy. At one point, it was like, bicycle wheels. And I was like, well, that's kind of out of the scope. So you got to know what is, in line of the vision, stick to that, but still only focus in when you're starting out. Just focus in on that one thing. Can you achieve this goal? And make it realistic, so that, it is obtainable. And there's a difference between a vision and a mission. Make sure that you can obtain that and then move on to the next thing. And that's how you grow. It's like building blocks. You got to start with a foundation.
Love it. And with Part Pick, just me knowing a little bit about that company, you're not even, I'm sure you could go into the details as far as like all the different parts that you guys, really had in there, and just even, going about putting that into the software. I'm sure that was several hours of work.
Yeah, I know way more about parts. I mean, I was a DIYer. Shout out to Bob Vila out there. Watch a lot of YouTube. But I learned so much about parts, and random, it's just so random. One day I just thought, oh yeah, that's an E-clip right there. I was like, what? So but yeah, it takes, somebody has to be the subject matter expert. Even if that's not your area, you have to become that. Like that's what it takes. You have to do whatever it takes.
Definitely. Well, I want to make sure we all get, have some time for dinner. If you're on the call and you're still here with us, if you want to ask Dr. Sephus a question right now, would be a good time. Plug yourself, what you're doing, might as well right now. And yeah, I'm gonna put October 15th in my schedule as well too. So George Zarepsky, he runs a nonprofit in Columbus, the UC Bus, which is really beautiful because it's kind of like what I was mentioning. They are doing they're doing a little bit what you're doing here in Columbus, Ohio. So it's kind of like, okay, how can we tap? So George, I'll let you go ahead and tell them a little bit about what you're doing. And yeah.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, sorry, I've been off camera, but got 4 kids and trying to get dinner sorted and this and that. So but before I miss this opportunity to say hi and thank you for everything you're doing, I just wanted to get on and say thank you. And as Manny said, we do have a bit of a shared history. I've got butterflies just listening to you. I'm like really amped up right now. So forgive me if the voice
Thank
cracks a little bit, but yeah, I definitely feel where you're at. And we are trying to do similar things here in Columbus. So ultimately what I want to do is just offer my support in any way that we can help out. Like Manny was saying, we do have a business accelerator. We do focus, even though I came from a tech track in a couple of tech startups, we focus on Main Street lifestyle businesses. So the mom and pop shops, which historically have a poor record of having the business portion stabilized. They're good at the thing they do, but not so much the other components that are absolutely necessary. So that's where we focus our teachings. It's a pretty typical accelerator program from idea to launch. But like I say, we just kind of focus on those things. We're not trying to scale people quickly for a fast exit. We're trying to help people build strong foundations and then follow up. So I heard you mention earlier the fractional CTO. We do that type of thing across all the different main C-suite components. So that's our big focus, and keep that long-term engagement with those businesses as they grow forward. So I do have to run the kids to soccer practice, but I was hoping that we could, hopefully have another engagement at some point, if it would be okay to contact you and just more detail on what our offerings are and see if there's any way that we can help out with your mission.
Sure. Yeah, no, I love to talk. And I'll definitely check out this. I think this is the website here. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Yeah, again, like, I'm new to this, and I'll be the first to tell people I'm not the expert in what I'm not the expert in. And I think, learning by doing, also learning by talking to other people is the best way. Sometimes it's the best way to do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I look forward, if our contact information is on the site, or if yours gets dropped, I'll be sure to reach out.
Yeah, but
Awesome.
Thank you. And Elio, how are you doing? I know you're on the call. Elio, I wanted to see if you had any questions. Elio, he runs a podcast featuring a lot of tech entrepreneurs here in Ohio, really. And it's really kind of growing up. And by the way, I love the website. I haven't told you in person. I went to it. I thought it was complex for a second. So yeah. Let me see if you have any questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're growing up, Manny. So I appreciate you for having me, man. And you've invited me multiple times, but this is my first time being able to make it. So it's great to be here, and congratulations to your guest on everything that she's doing. But the one thing that stood out to me was the power of media. And we're a media company, and we cover startups, and we cover investors, and we cover the ecosystem. And I try to emphasize to businesses how important media is as part of your strategy. Like the guest said, as soon as that Inc. article came out, it dramatically changed her business. Where she was once maybe doing a lot of outbound, now she's getting a lot of inbound from people who can actually change her business. So the work that we do at 614 Startups really matters for this ecosystem, because we are the #1 media company here locally. So if you're not familiar with 614 Startups, tap in and use media. If you have stories out there, a media company is always looking for content. So feel free to pitch us. And if there's any way we can help the guests, we're happy to do that. So, but no questions, just excited to be here. And it was great to see an illustration of the power of media, and a reinforcement of the importance of what we do, and the importance of image as well, and the images that we put out there of who's doing good things in the community.
Sure. No, thank you. Yeah, and just, I saw J. Cole in concert, and he stopped the concert midway through, and he just kind of said to everybody that, despite when you see something for the first, if you're seeing something for the first time, that person's not, it's not a one-hit wonder. They've been putting in the work, for years, and you're now just becoming aware of them. So adding into what Elio said, yeah, media is extremely important to get your story out there, and it's gonna, people that that will do the research, they're gonna reach out to you, and they'll highlight you, do your story, or hopefully hire you or whatever, right? So definitely agree with that. Yeah, I'm just very
And Ski at the U is actually the producer of the show. And speaking of incubating businesses, so for a long time, my company was a one-person kind of show. I was doing a lot of work. I went over to the U, being a startup and business accelerator. He's helping me to produce the show. So that's a connection there. And the importance of not just relying on external media companies, but becoming a media company yourself. Manny, you're no slouch in the media world either. You've been building media companies. So how do you turn yourself as an individual into a brand that drives a lot of incoming? A lot of companies that we had to reach out to are now reaching out to us because everyone actually, I mean, in your daily life, you understand the power of media, but I don't want to turn this into a media show, but it's
well, no,
absolutely.
I mean, I'll turn it into a business conversation. I'm going to go back into value add at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I'm no slouch. And Elio, from day one, what was I telling you? To charge and to charge. So I think, and even as Black founders, we don't get investment. So yeah, I had to get customers, listen to my customers, and then build around that. And that's exactly what you're doing. And and I think for the most part, from the people that I meet in real life, that's kind of how most small business path, obviously if we could all raise $250,000 on an idea, right, that would be incredible. But I don't encounter a lot of people, especially that look like me, that do that. So yeah, no, I think it's value add, and that's what I love about it. And Doctor, do you have any general questions for us? I'm gonna definitely obviously be up to date and stay up to date with everything that you're doing, and we plan on. I'll be there. I'll tell you. You could mark my words. I'll be there. I'm actively looking for a new city to spend some time in. I'm going on tour right now, so yeah. So Atlanta,
Yeah.
I really loved Atlanta. Really loved Atlanta. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch, and I think it's great to be able to sit here and talk to you all. People are from everywhere, and so I think that's the beauty of the technology. And in terms of reaching out, collaborating, please feel free to you can definitely follow me or reach out to me on social media. I guess I could put my handle and everything in here, but and if I don't get to you right away, it's just I have people helping me manage everything. But I definitely love to talk to you if you have things you want to discuss, ways you want to help, or ways I may be able to help you. I think it's important for us to work together. So
100%, 100%. And I will send out, just make sure everyone has, but yeah, she responds to her DMs, everyone. So just send her a DM, she will respond. And yeah, no, I'm just so excited, so happy for you with everything that you're doing. Congratulations. And just really grateful for everything that you're doing. So I don't really have any other questions. If everyone doesn't have any questions, Sherry, yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to quickly say I'm very, very impressed with your accomplishment from day one, right, in college and out of college. What a lot of people may not realize, except people, women, especially of color, Black people, is that you're in Mississippi. And I used to say, anybody from Ohio that can make it, they're awesome individuals. They don't give up because this is a hard place to crack. I'm a CPA. I have my own firm for 14 years, but and the part of that I do is not exciting, it's not interesting, but it's necessary, like risk assessments, operation, And so I worked for, I mean, like Luxottica, that's a company that makes almost every sunglass and eyeglasses in the world. But I can tell you that operations and the financial part and the risk, avoiding risk is a very important part of it. You must have done a lot of risk assessment in your life. You were in Mississippi, for God's sake, right? And so I just want to say kudos to you. And I would like to, talk to you one day soon.
Awesome.
If you need
Yeah,
anything,
no.
let me know.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, they say you got to be a little crazy to be an entrepreneur. So I think I got enough of the crazy in me. And yeah, I think, like you said, big risk, big return. And for me, I don't need much to be happy in life. Very humble beginnings, as long as I can eat, I got a roof over my head, clothes on my back, my family's good. I'm willing to help. I'm willing to do what it takes, so I definitely understand that, risks are important to take sometimes.
Yeah, and Sherry, I met Sherry through her son Rob Richardson, he's just incredible guy in Columbus. When I'm based in Cincinnati, he ran for treasurer a couple years ago, got 2.3 million votes. Unfortunately, some guy got 300,000 more votes, but Rob is doing incredible things in the media space. And he has a company called Disruption Now, if you're familiar with that. He's featured a few other, a few people that you've kind of mentioned, Disruption Now, and he's also building an NFT art platform, art.io. So he would, yeah, I would love to kind of connect you with him. So,
Nice.
but no, I agree. I think it's collaborating. I don't think that's the nature. I think it's on a high level. What can we do to just simplify and put people in front of other people that are doing amazing things? And if maybe it's two sentences or a conversation that really kind of unleashes that light bulb. So you said so many things to get me going that, I have some homework. I might not sleep tonight. Elio and Sherry, Mary, and Paulo. I'm so happy. I think we have a few states and a couple countries represented here on this call too. So, and great meeting you as well, Adrian. And thank you for everyone on the call for tuning in. Any last questions or thoughts before I let go? Thank you, Ashwin, as well.
Okay, yeah, I don't have anything else. Again, I thank you all. Looking forward to, possibly connecting one day.
Awesome. We'll invite you out to Columbus next time we do a next event.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Everyone have a great night. Be safe.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.